Morning, guys. Welcome to the our next episode of the Policy Tanks podcast, presented by Tank Talks, powered by the Policy Tank, and co-hosted by Genius U. In today's podcast, we'll talk about a very specific topic. And it is related to SDG 4, education, access to education, quality education. So, when we talk about quality education, so today we wanted to talk related to the specific area and very important region, I should say, which is actually have done growth over the period of time. And this region lies in Africa. It's an African nation, and yes, its name is DRC Congo. We did our research, we did our studies, and based on the reports of UNESCO and UN, we figured out that yes, over the period of time, people over there have actually worked in a very good manner when it comes to access to education and especially for girls. For today's podcast, we have invited our special guest, Elvis. He'll be there with us on this podcast today, and we'll be discussing a lot of questions to him and basic insights regarding his life, his journey, and how he achieved this thing and how he became successful to providing quality education and access to education for girls especially. So here I presents the podcast along with my co-host Ryan from Genius U. So welcome Ryan on the podcast today again with me. It's been an honor doing starting podcast from very starting till now, and we had a great experience together. Also, we had a different altogether speakers. But yeah, what do you say? How is this podcast special? How this topic becomes very special when it comes to quality education? SDG 4.
Mm. Yeah, thank you, Pranav, and welcome, Elvis, to today's podcast. Let me say that quality education is something very close to my heart. As Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world for the better. I'm very happy to be here today and to really learn from Elvis, his experiences as a very dedicated educator for many years. Yeah. So without further ado, let's jump in. Okay. So Elvis, we'd like to know who or what inspired the Elvis of today, right? So feel free to share with us your personal journey, your background, what got you into the world of education for girls, and inspiring the future of DRC.
Thank you very much, Ryan. And thank you, Pranav, for giving me this opportunity to come in your podcast. And I'm very excited about it. So, to share a little bit about my personal journey, I'll start by my self introduction. My name is Elvis Nshimba. I'm Congolese, and I'm based in the Democratic Republic of Congo. I'm the founder and CEO of Umoja Sport Foundation. My my ambition or the fact of starting Umoja Sport has been addressed by my childhood. I've spent, I have experienced a special childhood to where I overcame diseases, illness, but also the special circumstance that happened during my birth. My mother had to work so hard and spend 5 days in a technical bed until doctors decided to use metallic clamps to pull me out by force from my mother's arm. But curiously, I was alive and I'm here today. So that addressed my ambition to contribute to the betterment of our world because since I started growing up, I realized that I'm in the world with a mission and I have to achieve that mission. That's why we started Umoja Sport. But before starting Umoja Sport, I've been involved in teaching for 17 years. So since 2007, I started teaching different topics at secondary school. And then after that, I joined primary school, meanwhile, keeping studying and getting different trainings here and there. And all of the things I did, this is education or sport for development. Everything has led me to creating Umoja Sport. Thank you.
It is very heartening to hear that. In fact, Elvis, I also kind of have a kind of similar background. Okay, I was very impatient even in the womb. So I came out early. They had to put me in an incubator in the hospital to make sure that I was going to be alive, right? And then later on in my childhood, I suffered from childhood cancer. Okay, 12 years old. So that also kind of shifted my mindset to see life as very precious, right? That we should be, making the best out of our time on this planet to empower others and to develop ourselves. Yeah, so that has also inspired me to go into the world of education, to help other people, to do youth coaching. Yeah, so we share that bond there when it comes to the uh, realizing the fragility of life and how we can really make an impact, be it through sports, be it through any other topics. Yeah, Pranav, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, actually, rightly you mentioned about, about your journey, that yes, you came early out of the womb, and the same what happened with uh, Elvis also. But the thing is, uh, when we say about, especially able kids, or the gifted kids, or the kids who come early, to the earth, I guess, or I believe that, you are the people who are gifted, in a very special manner from the God, who actually do good thing. And yes, see, you both are the best examples for that. The great work you guys are doing from the very long years, and like the way from last 17 years Elvis is doing, from last so many years you are doing. So see, that's the thing. And it also depends on the, on providing the exposure, and how we get exposure from our families, from our, from our relatives, from our, in the society in which we live in. So all these things come together and then make these things easy. So yes, in that way, when it comes to, girl education also, then why should not we should, come together and make things easier for them also, to come up, to lead, to inspire and change the world, right?
Well said.
Yeah. So based on this thing, Elvis, I need to ask you one thing. What experience have you shaped, have shaped your role in advancing education in the DRC?
Experience I have faced and which shaped my role currently is the poverty. Because
Hmm.
during my childhood, I realized that my education was threatened by two things. First of all, illness, and
Yeah.
my parents couldn't afford to send me to adequate health care treatment. And secondly, I realized that poverty was the cause root, the main reason why education is being threatened. And as Ryan said, Nelson Mandela said, education is one of the powerful tools one can use to develop their community. Without education, we can't talk about gender equality. Without education, we can't talk about sustainable communities. We can't talk about health and well-being. So everything really depends on education. And when I started educating young boys and girls, I realized that one of the things that made me feel so happy is the transformation I could see. I could see how I welcomed girls. They are very young, but then they start developing the critical thinking. And then they move to suggesting some solutions. And then I see them growing and becoming responsible. One of the case is Bernice. Bernice is a coach for sport, a sport for development coach at Umoja Sport, and Bernice was a victim of ill treatment since she was 2 years old. Her parents divorced. And as the parents divorced, she was called to stay with her father and live with her stepmother, who inflicted ill treatment on her until she grew up and started spending days and nights along streets. But then one day, I met Bernice. And I said, you can get back to school. You can do it. So we started sponsoring Bernice. Bernice became a student, and now she has achieved her studies. So she got a state diploma. And Bernice is currently working with us as a coach, as a role model for girls, but also as a facilitator of French literacy. So all of these have shaped my ambition. They have nourished my ambition to work and devote for girls' education in the country. And what we have realized also is that When girls are educated, they are likely to save better than boys. When girls are educated, they are likely to embrace family planning and plan everything for their development and the development of their future children. Yeah, so that's what I can say.
Yeah, rightly said. Because as we say that, if you teach a boy, they can change the society. But when you educate a girl, that girl can change the complete generation, right? So that is the, the very basic difference. What I feel like, our society and people need to understand, that why it is very much important to, provide quality education to both boys and girls, and especially girls, so that they can lead, they can inspire the world. And adding to this question, the response what you gave, I want to ask you, what were the primary challenges faced by the education system in the DRC, particularly in relation to girls' education?
Talking about the primary challenges that education face in the Democratic Republic of Congo, this is a good question. I would suggest to give some answers. First of all, the Democratic Republic of Congo is one of the biggest country in Africa.
Mm.
It is actually the second biggest country in Africa. And people always call it what you call in French, un scandale géologique. This means that the country is very rich in minerals, in everything. But despite this potential, education rate in the Democratic Republic of Congo is among the lowest in Africa. And this results in high level of poverty, high level of inequality, high level of ignorance on health issues and climate change. So if I can give you some elements that express the challenges, the primary challenges, the first is limited access and infrastructure. I say this because many rural areas across the Democratic Republic of Congo do not have adequate schools. They don't have good roads, or sometimes the long distances to school and adequate transportation options prevent most girls from attending school. I can give one of the example. We operate in the Senkan village. Senkan village is at the border with Zambia, and it is within Kipushi. The whole area has no school. So children have to move from their dwelling places to go and reach schools at kilometers, 5 kilometers, 6 kilometers. And they have to use motorcycles, which are not really safe in terms of safety along the roads. And this prevents some of the students from attending schools. And in these situations, boys are likely privileged to go to school, and girls are encouraged to stay home and help their mothers with household tasks. So that is the first challenge, the limited access and infrastructure. The second is the low enrollment and retention rates. DRC has one of the lowest primary school enrollment rates in the world. And the reason is that there is, in the few years ago, education was not free. So the whole education from pre-primary, primary, secondary, and university, both people have to pay. Um, and then this is the reason that really brings down the rate of enrollment in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The third challenge is the quality education. Quality education depends on adequate teaching resources, but also updated curriculum. But the thing is that DRC still has the outdated curriculum that we are using, but also we don't have adequate resources. We need to link the theory to the practice. And what I call quality education is an education that is inclusive. an education that brings equal access to both boys and girls, and very most the education that answers to today's question, because today we have the global warming everywhere. So we
Yeah,
need education that brings youth in the center of these preoccupations. What can we do? What can
yeah.
we do to solve this problem? So we don't have adequate materials to bring that
Mm.
education, but also we need motivated teachers.
Elvis, before coming to solutions, I want to ask you one more question. Then we can, talk about the multifaceted approach. What you have used as a coach and as a teacher in Emoja Foundation. So, how do social, economic, and cultural factors contribute to these challenges? If you can, the challenges which you stated right now. So, how the society, economy, and cultural factors contribute to all such challenges?
Uh, Economic factors and social factors contribute very much to these challenges. I will start by the uh, sociological aspect
Hmm.
of the challenge, especially when we talk about girls' education.
Yeah,
You know, the Democratic Republic of Congo has the patriarchal attitudes and gender hierarchy. So the tradition and norms across the country, across different tribes, has been stipulating that men or male community members are superior to female. So female should always be subject and
yeah,
obey. So they are like, people are up there and then women or girls are just down. So this has been brought to all aspects of life. When you talk about education, boys should always be up and girls should always come down. And this mindset has been turned into an existing traditional system. So now the system has been very much ingrained in community members' mindset, where they think that girls should not pursue higher education. For example, they can learn primary school and they know how to read, they know how to write, they can speak a few French. That's it. The rest of the time, for example, they are now 14, so they can start learning how to take care of their households, go with their mothers to these tasks, to those tasks, and so on. And the second thing regarding the sociological aspect of challenges is that early pregnancies and early marriages have played a major role, because people or the community could agree that girls should be married when they are 13, 14 years. It's not a problem. So they are even encouraged. For example, if a girl turn 16 and she doesn't have a boyfriend, they will tell her, no, something is wrong with you. Why are you 16 and you don't have a boyfriend? So all of these have been challenges, that poverty is the root cause of this challenge. Because when a family, for example, in a family, there are 8 children or 7 children. Now you need to pay everything. You need to afford everything, class items, fees, monthly fees, and different contributions. So parents were likely to privilege boys and sacrifice themselves for boys, while girls are not counted. They can stop. But also, this came in the parents' minds because there has been no measures to protect the girls from gender-based violence and from getting pregnant while they are at the school age. So it became a system that when girls are 16, they are in grade 7, in grade 9, in grade 10, they get pregnant. And the Congolese law doesn't allow a pregnant woman or an early mother to join school. So if you're pregnant, you stop your education forever. Now parents started saying, so I can pay half of your cycle because I know that you're going to get pregnant. So I can't lose my money. So all of these have been challenges. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, thanks for sharing, Elvis. I can only imagine the frustration and the pressure that the women will have, especially if they are wanting to, break out of this cycle. And clearly, it shows that this requires a generational shift and a policy shift as well in order to change the dynamics of the situation. Yeah. So with that, Elvis, we'd like to move on to the multifaceted approaches to education. And definitely, I'm sure you have a lot to share based on your decades of experience. Okay. So let's begin by, besides sports, which you are engaged in, what other approaches are being utilized at this moment to improve education access to girls in the Congo?
Thank you for the question. I believe in sport. Maybe if you can allow me, I can say something about Umoja Sport,
Sure, no
and then
problem.
I can go to the question. Umoja Sport, Umoja is a Swahili name because the name of our organization has a meaning behind. Umoja is a Swahili name and it means unity or together. And sport is one of the powerful tools we can use to bring the community members together. So once they come, they say, we are going to watch some sports events, we are going to do some training because we love physical activity, we love this and that. But once they join us in the pitch, we play a game, we stop the game, and we start talking about education. How can we promote education as a community? What are the benefits of being educated? Benefits of girls' education, benefits of boys' education. And this is where we learned, for example, that through sport, we learned that a community that uses both male and female resources is likely to develop quickly than a community that uses only one resource and discriminates against
Mhm.
another. So we have developed uh, special games and we work in partnership with coaches across continents to develop more games that promote education. And from the movement, we teach our participants why we should all pursue education and achieve it and what are the benefits. So sports plays a major role first in bringing awareness on the importance of education in the Democratic Republic of Congo. But also we talk about challenges and how we can overcome those challenges as parents while funding education for our students, for our children, because education sector in DRC is not very funded. It is relying on external donors. And if external donors stop their donation, then education rate and access to education decreases and the quality also decreases. So this implies that parents must contribute somehow to contributing to their children's education. So sport is one of the tools we use to bring that awareness, and then it entice parents to send their students, their children in schools. But also, Moja Sport gives an example because our ambition is to build our own schools in our operation areas. But so far, we can't afford to do so. So what we are doing is that we are providing sponsorship to some of our beneficiaries. We send them to school and we pay everything for them. But also we provide health classes such as menstrual health management to adolescent girls and mothers. We talk about family planning for women, and we teach life skills to out of school youths. Yeah.
L'égalité des sexes est une priorité. Nulle communauté ne peut accélérer son développement si elle laisse derrière les femmes et les filles. À Umoja Sport, nous apprenons à inclure l'égalité des sexes à tous les trois niveaux de l'organisation, à savoir sur les terrains, en inscrivant plus de filles dans nos programmes sportifs, en marge du terrain, en entraînant plus de coachs filles, et au niveau de l'organisation, en maintenant l'équilibre entre les sexes dans le recrutement. Nous avons hâte de rejoindre des grands réseaux des organisations qui partagent les mêmes idées que nous, afin d'apprendre d'eux et de leur partager nos pratiques. Je suis Lise Biwema, secrétaire administrative à Umoja Sport. Restez à l'écoute afin d'apprendre plus sur nos activités.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. So a lot of mindset work that starts from the galvanizing impact of the sports and play. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, Elvis. Are there any other successful initiatives that you all have done? Like, I'm wondering, is there anything related to entrepreneurial education that you all teach to the young ones?
Yes. Um, the mission of a Sport is to create a safe and thriving community for everyone, regardless of their background or their gender. And to achieve this mission, Umoja Sport has developed three innovative solutions. The first is Sport for Development, where we use sport as a tool for education outside the classroom. The second is education itself. I've talked about it. And the last key program is economic empowerment. In economic empowerment, we talk about entrepreneurship, especially social entrepreneurship. So we encourage our youths to take risk, to start their activities, and to not only wait for the government, because most people in the Democratic Republic of Congo are crossing their hands and saying, we are waiting for the government to make jobs for us. But I've
Uh,
seen there in the world where the government can provide employment to everyone. So if we don't create employment ourselves, and if we don't support people, we can't do it. And the mission of Umoja is to become a hub of social entrepreneurs. We don't only teach them about education, but we give them necessary skills so that they can start their own things. And then we together we develop and we bring the betterment in the world. One of the example to show evidence of what I'm doing in the economic empowerment, we teach sewing to out of school girls. Some of the girls, one of the example is Gloria Yumba. Right after the training, she was supported by her family and by Umoja Sport. So she got one sewing machine and she started sewing at home. But at Umoja Sport, we have a kind of follow up. So we went to visit her and we saw her sewing. The way to encourage her was to order some shirts from her, rather they are good or not, but we ordered some shirts. And then we told her that, you need to apply what you learned in financial literacy and cooperative. You can't develop your business because even if it is only one sewing machine, this becomes a business. So you need to find a place where people can see you, where people can come to ask you some questions. So we encouraged her to bring her sewing shop out of her household. And now she has three sewing machines, which is a great thing. And today we are distributing menstrual cups. Those menstrual cups needs to be kept in cotton pockets. So we don't buy cotton pockets. We wish to have them sold by our one graduate, our one laureate from sewing project. So we see them, we give them this market, and we fund them. And we know that if girls like these ones, even though they didn't achieve their normal education, but now they have a choice, they have a skill, and they have a knowledge. So they are not independent, they are not depending on everything which can bring them down, but now they are self-dependent and they can even contribute. So they have a word, and this puts them in a position of power. This is the kind of entrepreneurship we would like to bring across our community, as well as other activities that I can talk about here because we are still designing them.
It's a
Yeah,
very shining example, actually. Yeah, and I think I've learned a bit too late from the school of hard knocks that no one is coming to save you. You have to save yourself. And having that independent mindset is actually very empowering, especially for women, right? They don't have to depend on a male, especially if it's an abusive male member they have to depend on. Instead, they have their earning potential and then they can chart their own path in life. So I'm very happy to see that you have empowered Gloria in this aspect of this.
but yeah, I must also say this thing that is, apart from providing education, what you are doing is that, you're also doing empowerment through skill development. And the case which you mentioned right now, it's actually a best example of that. That, how you nurtured the skill of a particular, the pass out girl, and now how she do seeing, receiving, and getting clients from your side and from other people. So actually, this is a very best example of empowerment. And I would like to know also, other like what specific programs or initiatives focus on skill development for girls in the DRC, like on the lines what you are doing. So are there any other programs also in the same manner which are running, or the same kind of initiatives? If you can just tell us about that.
Uh, yes, so we have other programs, but most of the programs are not implemented because we started Umoja Sport only in 2022. So we are still working on fundraising and then start
Mhm.
more programs. But what we would like to do in terms of entrepreneurship at Umoja Sport is to make a kind of TVET, so technical and uh, vocational education program, where we split skills in two levels. So we will have Umoja vocational skills and then Umoja technical skills. In the
Yeah.
vocational skills, we would like to add, for example, we have sewing now. We would like to add beauty. We would like to add like housekeeping and catering. This way, all of the women who go through these programs are being followed up, and they can start their own restaurants, they can start their own beauty shops, they can start their own sewing shops, and so on. And then in the technical program, we would like to have electronic, because most of devices we use locally are imported either from China, from India, or from any other countries from Japan. We have phones, we have refrigerators, we
Yeah.
we have televisions. All of these need electronical skills. So we would like to have electronic for young boys and girls, and then
Yeah.
we can have electrical. And in electrical, we would like to focus on renewable electrical, green light.
Yeah.
For example, how we can encourage community members to use solar power, and how we can install circuits, electrical circuits with solar power in their households. But also, we would like to add things like mechanical or driving skills, driving school. All of this can help because today DRC is facing issues related to criminality. And
Yeah.
criminality comes because mostly young boys have nothing to do, but they want to have clubs. They want to live their life. They are not
Yeah.
educated. They can't find job. And then they start involving in criminality during night and daytime. But if we train them to
Yeah.
become drivers, for example, they can be hired and start making common transportation with people. And this way, everyone can live a better life. So these are the programs, and this list is not exhaustive of what we would like to do in terms of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. No, like apart from these programs, like we would also, love to know other programs and other initiatives, if you know, which are being run in DRC from other organizations, either in collaboration with international organizations or directly. So, are you also aware about it?
Yes,
Because
we Mhm. Go ahead.
yeah, because there because as per our understanding and as per our research, what we found is there is one program which is called FHI 360, which is being run in collaboration with UNESCO. And apart from this, there is one another program which is EESSE project. So these two programs are running right now. So one is run by World Bank, and another one is run by UNESCO. So these two initiatives actually are being run by in collaboration with um, an international organization and a private organization which are there. So in that way, so if you can just put a light or shed some light on this particular thing.
Yes, so there are many initiatives apart from
Yeah.
those two. There are many
Yeah.
initiatives, but we are not yet aware of all of them. What we
Okay.
know that we have international agencies like UNICEF, they
Yeah.
support education and they
Yeah.
work straightly with the national education minister. We have,
Mm.
for example, the Raw Bank. They are very much involved in education, but also in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And we have, for example, the USAID, which are
Yeah.
mostly in development of communities, but also in risk prevention and stability across the country. So there are many organizations, and Umoja Sport would love to be connected to
yeah,
some of these so that we can together um, succeed in our
yeah,
mission. Because
yeah,
today, um, if someone wants to stop very early and not go far away, he
yeah,
can embrace ecosystem because they
mm,
want to go alone, but they can
yeah,
succeed. If someone wants to succeed, for example, motorsport, we are engaged in ecosystem where we try to get
yeah,
to collaborate with organizations here and there. And motorsport collaborate with some organizations in the country. For example, we collaborate with our sports ministry
yeah,
where we talk about sports as a catalyst for development and how we can improve communities through sport. So Motorsport has been collaborating with the national minister on that, but also we
yeah,
collaborate with state ministries and we collaborate with international organizations and networks such as
mm,
the Sport for Social Change Network in South Africa, where they
yeah,
provide us with light on how we can use sport as a tool to achieve the 60 agenda of the African
yeah,
Union, which
yeah,
is almost the same with the 2030 agenda of the United Nations. So we really value this collaboration and we would like to be connected to most of them.
yeah. Because I was amazed, to get through with this fact that in 2017, World Bank actually invested $135 million for the girl education and for improving access and teaching conditions for girls in DRC Congo itself, and this amount increased to $246 million in 2023. So that was actually a very rapid growth when it comes to that a particular region, because the kind of initiatives what are being taken from the people like you, it has actually raised the bar higher of girl education and access to education of girls. And how you are also that creating that nudge effect, that okay, it's not just about education, it's also about how to learn sustainably, and how to develop other skills alongside the life skills, so that even after graduating or getting pass out from the education institution, so how you can survive or how you can earn or be a breadwinner for your family. So that was the very good approach which I should think, or I think that other countries should also follow. And DRC can become a very good example. DRC can set an example in front of all the world, that. And actually I praise DRC and DRC people for that thing.
Yeah, thank you. And a few decades ago, education rate in DRC was less than 50%,
Yeah.
and only 52 could achieve primary school, and then 23 could achieve secondary school. In the
Mm,
23 who achieved secondary school, only 6% represented girls across the
mm,
country, I think 2 decades ago. But now there has been effort, the country has made efforts, and the institutions, in collaboration with international organizations, they have really made a great impact in education with the increase. For example, access to education. This is the recent report, which says that access to education has improved considerably over the past 2 decades now, especially for girls and at their early ages. So between 2000 and 2017, primary net enrollment increased by 50%, which is very significant, from 52% to 78%. However, the completion rate at the primary level remains low at 75, and the quality of education is extremely poor, with an estimated 97% of 10 years old in DRC being in learning poverty, but also meaning they cannot read and understand simple text. But the government and
yeah,
community organizations like Umoja
yeah,
Sport and international agencies that will to support the DRC are currently working on improving all of this. These last 5 years, there has been an increase in enrollment because the primary school became free of charge. Now, because education at the primary school is free of charge, there is there are many parents sending their students in in education, which increase the enrollment rate for both boys and girls, and which is a good signal. But Umoja Sport believes that we need to work hard and then improve and update the quality of education that we are giving, aligning it together with education at the international level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ryan, for Elvis, for providing this, this information, and that how you people are actually, leading the, the initiative when it comes to, a comparative analysis in throughout the world. So,
Mm. Well, Elvis, I do have a burning question because you have shedded light on the vocational aspect, the technical aspect, the collaboration aspect. So, my question would be, how are advancements like on the digital aspect, like digital education for the young people in the DRC and for the girls, of course, right? Like, because I hear some of the girls, they may be at home, they cannot travel out. So, what comes to mind is the digital education through the laptop, for example, could be a great way to improve access to education. So, what are your views on this?
Digital education is very important. Digital education can solve most of the problems, most of the issues, and it's one of the quality education needed. But however, the country is still poor. It is very difficult. For example, you are in a rural area, you can go through 10 households. Maybe only 2 households may have a smartphone like this. Others have just small phones. So if they go to school and they learn about computer science, for example, without a computer, everything they are learning is theory. They can't link it to life. They can't link it with practice. So it is very important to include digital aspects in education, and we are working hard to solve some of these problems. For example, at Umoja Sport, we teach basic computer science, basic information technology, where we teach children about laptops and the work we do on laptops, and we give them some few time to manipulate laptops where they can. And currently, one of our network has launched a training in artificial intelligence, how one can use artificial intelligence in sport, especially in women's sport, but also to bring awareness on the danger that artificial intelligence brings in the world. So all of these are updated questions in the world, but if a part of the community is not aware of this, they can have stereotypes, they can have myths around it. So it is very important that we include digital aspect in education. We really love that and we would embrace it. The thing is that we need to import everything.
Mm, I see.
But also in the
Yeah.
national curriculum, for example, um, 7 years ago, they included technology as one of the subjects, which is a good sign. Now, talking about computers at the primary school, even though most of schools cannot afford to have computers, but now they can start talking about them, and children are curious to go and visit some cafe nets and see some computers, pay a little money just to manipulate or to open a social media. I think that is a good point where we've started, and we dream to grow bigger and bigger.
Mm. It's good that you mentioned social media because that is a very natural and even, dare I say, addictive way to get people onto the online space, right? But Elvis, as an educator, I'm just concerned. How has what is your view on social media affecting the societal perceptions of women in education? And yeah, the whole mix of it, social media.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Mm. Yeah, because there is a concern, right? Social media is great for learning and sharing, but there are also dangers to it. It can affect societal perceptions of
Mm,
how women are viewed as
mm.
well, right? So, what's your thoughts on this?
Okay, so this is a complex question, but I will answer it in two different ways.
Mm,
Social media are important. They are very important because they keep you close to your friends. Through social media, you can build a strong network of friends that you didn't have or people that you haven't met physically. For example, today, I and Pranav are now working together in the podcast. We are now having a podcast, and maybe we will have some collaboration, but we never met physically. I think that we've met through social media. This is one of the benefits, but also through social media. Today, there are many international opportunities, and it is needed for youths, boys and girls to join social media and then be updated on all of those opportunities. There are fellowships, there are particular trainings, there are job opportunities. So all of these are on social media. But also, the other aspect is that we need to train our youths about the correct use of social media. Because if they are not trained, if they are not aware of the danger that is around social media, they will expose themselves. Today, there is what we call online harassment. There are risks of people watching pornography. So, what can happen if if children at their school age are watching pornography? Because pornography, I don't know, but people always say that it destroys even our mental faculties. So, what happens if these youths are watching such sensitive images like that, which doesn't reflect the reality in life? But also, uh, people can even be killed from being online. They can be killed. It is very easy to rape people or kill them through social media because there are different dangers, and people can be victim of hackers different ways. People can lose their money, people can lose uh, their image, they can deteriorate their image through social media. So this has become a challenge, a concern for parents. Parents have a smartphone, but they are not encouraged to buy smartphones for their children because at one point they say if we buy them smartphones, these smartphones will help them do research on their homeworks, on their research. But in the meantime, children who are supposed to spend 7 hours sleeping, they will spend only 3 hours because all of the night they are on their phone chatting with friends, sending
uh,
some crazy messages, and this becomes a concern. But what I think, as a personal point of view, is that we should provide a guideline for our youths and then give them access to smartphones, to internet in a good purpose while taking care of them, because education is possible at every level. I think that it depends on the way we educate our children from their early age. If we train them, we educate them better, they will be good people online. If we don't care about their education earlier, then we want to do it while they are 17. We can't. That will be very late.
mm.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and thank you, Elvis, for also raising the important point about pornography, because especially for young people at that age, it can really get very addictive, and it can also alter their perception of how they view the other gender, right? Which can even worsen gender inequality. Let's say the woman becomes objectified, or they think that by exposing themselves online it is normal, you know, then it can lead to a lot of social problems down the road. Yeah. So thank you for addressing that.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
too.
yeah, and Alvis, coming on to the economic empowerment and education, I would like to know that what is the relationship between economic empowerment and girls' access to education in DRC? So if you can, could you please discuss some initiatives aimed at programming economic opportunities for girls and their families in DRC?
I can say that economic empowerment and girls' education, both concepts are interdependent. This is what I can say because there is no economic empowerment without education, and no education has no value if there is no economic empowerment. I think both of them uh, contribute to the betterment of the life. If girls are educated, if they are educated, what is the outcome? What is expected from their education? The first thing that we expect from those girls is that they are economically empowered. They have a salary. So the relationship between economic empowerment and girls' access to education in DRC, so because we're talking about DRC, is multifaceted and interdependent. Economic factors play a significant role in determining girls' education opportunities and outcomes. One is household poverty and educational costs. High level of poverty and economic insecurity in DRC mean that many families struggle to afford the direct and indirect costs of education, such as school fees, uniforms, and supplies. And in this context, parents often prioritize investing in the education of boys over girls, as boys are perceived as the primary breadwinners and take carers of families. The second is the opportunity costs of girls' education. In resource constrained households, girls are often expected to contribute to household chores, caregiving responsibilities, income generating activities like going to sell fresh water along the streets. This is what happens here, which can limit their ability to attend school regularly and perform well academically. So, these opportunity costs associated with girls' education can deter families from investing in their schools. The last thing is the economic empowerment, economic independence, and delayed marriage. When, for example, economic empowerment programs enable girls to generate their own income and become financially independent, the latter can delay their age of marriage and pregnancy because they are in schools, allowing them to stay in school longer and complete their education. But in turn, this can break the cycle of early marriage and pregnancy, which are significant barriers to girls' education and school attainment in schools. So these two programs are interdependent. Where there is economic empowerment, girls are likely to have access to education. Where there is no economic empowerment, education for girls is very tough. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Abis. So the thing is, we go back to the sports education part, right, which is what you focus on a lot. Okay, so how then do the girls, how do the girls empower themselves so well that it can change parents' perception? You know that, oh, I shouldn't be focusing so much on the boy, but let's give a chance for the girl instead, and then invest in her. What do you think needs to happen?
I can rather say what we do to convince parents to send children to school and what we do so that children, girls themselves, go to claim their education towards their parents. We have games. In these games, let me give an example of one of the game that we play. We want to talk about uh, opportunities that come through education. Then we have a traditional football game where team A plays versus team B, they play to goal. But then coaches says that the pitch should be split in three areas where we have the defenders, then we have the midfielders, and we have the strikers. Strikers can play only in their area. They can't go back. Even if they are going to score in their goalpost, they cannot go to support their teammates. Defenders can play only in their area. They cannot go to score. So we split the pitch in those three areas and we keep all of them each on his area. So when they play, they are limited. They cannot cross the line because if they cross the line, they lose 1 point. So they can't cross the line. And at the point we stop the game and we say, what happens? How's the game? Most of them will be complaining. I was providing my teammates with balls, but they can't score. If I was there, I could just kick once and then it would be a goal. But they can't score. If I was there, I could just kick once and then it would be a goal. Give them a con. I give them just a con. If you have a con, you hold the con in your hand, you are free. You can go everywhere you want. You can go to strike, you can come to defend, you are free. So they play again and then we stop the game. We ask them, how do you feel? The players with the con will likely be happy because they have been moving. They could keep the ball the longer they want and they could go and support their friends. Maybe they even achieve by scoring. This can happen. And then they're happy. So this is a game where we teach them that if you are not educated, you still have a value in the community because you have an innate talent in you. For example, you are making this or that, but you don't have many choices. But if you are educated, you can have different options. You can do this and you can try that new thing. You can try this and that. This is one of the example of the game that we play. And then we teach them to use their voice because they are human being and they can claim for it, their education. They can challenge their parents by asking them why their brothers are in schools but they are not in schools. So we build their confidence through sport and then they go to work with parents. But in the meanwhile, on special opportunities, we play the same games with parents. And then we tell them that if you don't send your children in education, this is how you stop their life. This is how you make it tough for them. And some of the parents really change their point of view and they send their students back to school. Thank you.
Wow, a very powerful and visual way to illustrate to the students that this magical one of education can really change the outlook and influence their impact on others. Yeah. So good point, Elvis. The thing is, okay, you mentioned the students, the parents, the educators, and also the policymakers. Are there any other stakeholders who also need to be invested in this vision so that they can create the change that you have talked about?
Yeah, so I think that you've enumerated all of the stakeholders that we needed, but because at Umoja, when we talk about stakeholders, first we have the participants themselves. They come from the larger community. They need to believe in themselves, especially girls, because the existing system, which doesn't encourage equality, is ingrained in their mindset. So they need to commit to gender equality and access to education themselves. Then, secondly, we have the larger community, the wider community, where we can find their uncles, their parents, their brothers and sisters. All of this needs to be involved in. And then the other stakeholders are the government. The government, when we make policies, these policies can have effects only if there are similar policies from the government. For example, if the government doesn't support gender equality, it would be difficult for private organizations like Umoja Sport to achieve successfully the mission of bringing gender equality because the policy needs to be reinforced by a law and the law is being voted and elaborated by the government. So government are significant stakeholders. And then after that, we have partners from around the world. For example, we work with coaches across continents to have all of these sports materials with us and updated, but also we contribute to some of the materials together, which is very important to collaborate and learn new things, to collaborate and learn best practices from other communities. For example, we are in DRC, but we can learn what are the success from Nigeria. How has
Mm.
Nigeria community improved? This needs to come through collaboration, through a given network. what has happened in Zimbabwe, what is happening in Japan, what is happening in India. So we need those kinds of network to collaborate and be updated on the work we are achieving. Thank you.
Yeah, such a such important things what we discussed actually today, what we were thinking upon and what we were reflected today was really truly amazing. And I must say that that DRC has really have done a commendable job in respect to access to girl education. And I'm personally actually very much impressed by this approach of DRC. And let's continue this thing and our work in the space of empowering girls and providing them the access to education, the quality education through our efforts. So thank you, Elvis. Thank you so much for coming over here today in our podcast and being here and sharing such and providing such insightful things related to education, related to empowering them, and how we can then turn them and make them earn and be a breadwinner. So thank you so much for that, and thank you, Ryan, for again hosting this episode with me. So we'll catch you guys in the next episode with the Policy Tank and Tank Talks. Stay tuned with us, and yes, do follow our initiative, do follow our things, and help us together in any way, in whatever way you can, to empower girls, support them, provide them, and help them in getting education, quality education. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pranav. Thank you, Ryan, for the podcast.